What's up, everyone? Welcome to Say What I Mean. Don't forget to subscribe, share the videos. So today I want to talk about something that's been on my mind, and it's a few different things I'm going to tie into this, and I'm going to make larger videos about all these subjects. But the main gist of what I'm saying is there's been a lot of debate about whether ADOS, black people should vote or not because of how the Democratic Party basically have taken our vote for granted. And I agree 100% that they took our vote for granted. But I want to explain why I take the other side. I still think we should vote. And hear me out here. Um, some of this is going to be nuanced, very nuanced. And I actually understand the point of people saying that, let's hold our votes and make them address our issues. In theory, that makes sense. It definitely makes sense in theory, but this is why I think it's a little bit short sighted. It's a lot of things we don't take in consideration when we vote. Um, for one thing, the President of the United States gets to nominate judges and the Senate approve. Now, everybody talk about the Supreme Court, and that's very important because a lot of controversial issues go to Supreme Court. But regular issues throughout the year, the Supreme Court only hear about what less than 100 cases a year. About what 700 or so go up for review. But there are so many court cases per year that the Supreme Court don't even get a chance to hear. Now, excuse me, this is trying to pass this garbage truck right here. This is what happens when you try to drive and make a video at the same time. But yeah, so the two lower courts that people don't talk about a lot is the Court of Appeals and the District Court. And the vast majority of cases get heard there, especially the first court, the District Court. So a lot of civil rights cases is heard um, at the District Court level because there's three courts in the federal system. So the District Court and Court of Appeals, most of the cases go there. And right now in the Trump administration, they have appointed extreme right wing judges. And when I say extreme right wing judges, that's what I mean. A lot of them with white supremacy sympathies and some outright white supremacists. And the progress that we want to make, I'm 100% for reparations, is long past due. But if we have all these right wing judges and Trump is really packing the courts with these right wing judges, what make you think these conservative groups won't challenge reparations? And what make you think that if it goes to some of these white supremacist judges, that they won't rule against it and find it unconstitutional in some way? Because a lot of these court decisions, they say they go by precedent and all that, but really, because it's such a political position, a lot of them just go by political leanings. You already know when a case come before like Supreme Court or a certain appeals court which way the case is going to go by the affiliation and what president appointed the judges. And it goes further than reparations. Like a lot of us want some type of federal legislation to hold police officers accountable. Again, if we somehow get that through, why wouldn't a white supremacist judge? Why wouldn't they challenge that, and why wouldn't they overturn it? You see what I'm saying? And this is the things we don't think about. Now, I know some people are going to say, well, the Democrats just racist. In a lot of cases, that is true. But on average, they will appoint better judges, and we have a better chance of our issues not being thrown out. Like, for example, with the voting rights legislation in the Supreme Court. If the Supreme Court judges at the time was mainly held by judges that was appointed by Democrats, they wouldn't have overthrown Section 5 of the Voting Rights Act. I truly believe that, and evidence points and back that up. So that's why I kind of edge on the side of voting, even if it's not a candidate that I particularly like. 2016, I despised Hillary Clinton, and I actually didn't vote for her. I voted third party. I voted for Jill Stein, but I had the luxury of doing that because I live in New York State. New York State was going to go for a Democrat regardless, and I wanted to. I just didn't want to support Hillary Clinton with my vote, given her record on black issues, given what she did in Haiti, given her support with the '94 crime bill. She just had a horrible record, her race baiting in '08 when she ran against Obama. So to say the least, I wasn't a big fan of Hillary Clinton. So I voted for Jill Stein. But I will say, if I lived in a state like Michigan, if I lived in a state like Pennsylvania, if I lived in any battleground state, I would have held my nose, sucked it up, and voted for Hillary Clinton. Just because I think the judges that she appointed would have been a lot better, not even a little bit better, a lot better. And this is one of the things I feel like um, people on the left, whether it's regular Democrats, progressive white Democrats, and ADOS people, don't take into consideration, is how important it is to have the right judges in office, how important it is to be involved in races for the DA. We need more progressive DAs, more progressive prosecutors. You know, um, these are things we don't think about, and well, I say a lot of us don't think about, and there's some I think we need to kind of change the way we think about politics. So I understand the point. A lot of people want to hold out till we get basically almost exactly what we want. And like I said, I can't like fault people for that because, like I said, I understand, but those are the reasons I think it's kind of short sighted. You know, I'm gonna move on for that, and I want to do a larger video about that, and because I want to give specific cases for, the conservatives have challenged the Affordable Care Act 1,000 times, and they got provisions thrown out like the Medicaid expansion, thrown out of the legislation. Originally with the Affordable Care Act, all states supposed to be able to had to opt in. When they challenged it, they threw out that and made it a choice. So stuff like that. They challenge laws all the time, and right wingers and Republicans, they constantly thinking about ways to increase their power, so it'd be less of a democracy. So think about that too. Let me know what y'all think. One other thing that I kind of want to discuss is it shouldn't be a surprise for anyone, and I want to talk about how don't let people play dumb because recently it came out. It was a conversation that wasn't supposed to be heard that Ronald Reagan called Africans monkeys. He called, I believe it was the Tanzanian delegation monkeys, how they just started wearing shoes, all this bullshit, right? That shouldn't be a surprise. It shouldn't be a surprise. People play dumb, and this is why I hate the media. Because you go to the media, Ronald Reagan is revered. Excuse me. And most black people I talked to growing up, because I was born in the '80s, grew up in the '90s. All the black people, older black people I knew at that time, hated Ronald Reagan. But in the media, it's like he was one of the best presidents of all time. It's propaganda. It's propaganda. I don't know. It's one of two things. Either they don't care enough to ask black people their opinions, or they just don't care. Either or is bad. Ronald Reagan was a piece of shit president. When he launched his campaign for president in '80, he announced his campaign in Philadelphia, Mississippi, the same place where the civil rights workers was murdered. Those three civil rights workers was murdered. And he launched his campaign there talking about state rights. Coded language, Southern strategy, what he got for Nixon. And this conversation, when he called the African monkeys, was a conversation he was having with Nixon at the time, who was the first president to use the Southern strategy. For those of you who don't know the Southern strategy is, it was the way where Republicans could dominate the South by using racial dog whistles. In short, that's what it was, right? And the Republican chairman came out, I believe, was it 2000 or 2004? I can't remember the exact year, but around that area, y'all can look it up. Um, the president of the Republican National Committee came out and apologized for using the Southern strategy, for Republicans using the Southern strategy for decades. So they actually admitted. There's multiple tapes of prominent conservatives talking about using the Southern strategy, which was all based on racial dog whistles with Ronald Reagan mastered. Now, the media don't tell you about that, and they act like it didn't exist, or even if they acknowledge it, they downplay it. Ronald Reagan was an outright racist. Um, his feelings towards black people really was no different than Trump's. Like, the difference is that Trump is hated by a lot of the establishment as well. So they more willing to call out Trump than they was where they more willing to call out somebody like Trump than Reagan. And even with Trump, they play stupid. They sometimes they around the edge of calling him racist or white supremacist when all the evidence point that he's a racist white supremacist. So a lot of these people know they play stupid, and just don't let them play stupid. You know what I'm saying? We shouldn't have to explain it. They know it. They just don't want to acknowledge the truth in a lot of cases. So that's what's on my mind for the day. And again, subscribe, share the video, all that good stuff. Being consistent with this content, and I have a battle rap video coming up because it's exciting battle rap news for those of you into battle rap. So thanks for watching, and peace out.